We have all had a heart sink moment when we see a terrible slide appear at the start of an online teaching session we're sitting down to watch. You know the type. Tiny writing, diagrams that aren't in focus, and then the speaker starts reading straight off the text on the slides. Don't be that person. Follow these 10 rules and I promise you that your slides will be something that makes your learning better and helps you to deliver the online teaching that you really want to. There's many online learning theories out there, but Richard Mayer's multimedia learning theory is truly epic. Here we go through his key principles with 10 points for you to follow to make your slides pop. Number 1, multimedia principle. This says that people learn better from words and pictures than words alone. And that's because words and pictures together let the learner construct both these visual and verbal models, which leads to better learning transfer. 2, the coherence principle. People learn better when unnecessary content is removed from your presentation slides, and that includes unnecessary text, unnecessary sounds, and unnecessary images. And that's because this extra material, it competes for cognitive space and that limited memory capacity. And it means that the learner won't remember your teaching as well. Here's a great example of how a neonatal heel prick slide can be optimized using this principle. Because rather than using the first example here, you can remove the unnecessary parts and keep the key elements that reinforce your message and are directly related. And this helps the knowledge transfer and allows the learner to remember what you're saying. So keep it uncluttered. 3, the signalling principle. This states that we learn best when we're shown exactly what it is that we need to pay attention to on the screen. And you can show your audience by highlighting words or sections to indicate what information is significant. And that highlighting, it can be done verbally too, with emphasis on specific words. This example, using an X-ray rule of 2s, shows how just a change in colour can help highlight to you immediately on the learner side what you should be paying attention to. 4, the redundancy principle. Humans learn best with narration and graphics rather than with narration and graphics and text. And this is because redundant material interferes with learning because the learner has to process multiple sources. So there is no advantage to reading the text out loud from your slides. 5, spatial contiguity principle. Here, we understand that we should be keeping words and pictures near to each other. It makes it easier for the learner not to have to scan the screen and put things together. This reduces their cognitive load and improves learning transfer. In this example, you can see yourself how much longer it takes you to scan the image when the text is far apart from the picture rather than them just being together and you being able to interpret it immediately. 6, temporal contiguity principle. It's better if images and the words accompanying them are presented simultaneously rather than successively. So rather than showing an image and then talking about it, do them both together. Learners retain more information this way. This SVT example shows how if I show the image and then we move on and I talk about it, it's going to be more difficult to remember than seeing it on screen while I'm speaking about it. Number 7, modality principle. We learn better from images and spoken word than from images and text. That doesn't mean that we should never use text, but if there's too much, it's just overwhelming and it reduces learning. But it's important here to remember that you should have subtitles or closed captions for accessibility though. This auricular block is a good example of where the text isn't helping and actually it's better to focus on what the teacher is saying. Number 8, personalization principle. People learn better in online presentations when the words used are conversational rather than formal. So keep the language simple and casual, but also consider your audience, so try to match the tone to them and definitely use first-person language. Here's a written example of how much simpler it is to interpret when simple language is used rather than flowery jargon. Number 9, voice principle. People learn better when the narration is spoken in a human voice rather than a robot voice. And yes, apparently getting a robot voice to narrate your talks is a thing. So there is no advantage of using a robot voice. So
keep your human voice out and put your robot voice away.
And number 10 is the image and embodiment principle. So people don't learn better when a still image of the speaker is shown on the screen, but actually they do when the speaker is on screen and displays high embodiment. And high embodiment means hand gestures, good eye contact with the screen. It might mean actually hand drawing things on the screen. But the bottom line is, when you're doing your online teaching, be enthusiastic, and you might need to do this more so than if you're in person to get that connection with your learner. So, these are 10 principles from Mayer's multimedia learning theory that will help you to optimize your slides. What they'll mean is that your slides enhance your learning. They will allow you to focus on the message you're giving and allow the learners to take that information in better, with your slides helping direct them to the right content, to highlight what you want to say and allow them to focus on key learning.